I thought she loved me. I really did. 55 years old, divorced twice, and I still believed a 23-year-old woman from Bangkok saw something in me worth keeping. I gave her everything, my pension, my future, my dignity, and she took it all without looking back. I walked into that cafe on Sukhumvit Road on a Tuesday afternoon in March. The heat hit me like a wall the second I stepped outside my hotel. Sweat was already dripping down my back. I'd been in Bangkok for 3 days, doing what every lonely retired American does in Thailand. That last sentence, doing what every lonely retired American does in Thailand, that line feels like an admission of guilt now. I tried to edit that out of this script, but then I got an email late last night that forced me to be brave. The message came from Alex, one of the veterans of this community, who has watched me share these deeply flawed decisions. Alex's email was short and brutal. He wrote, "You always gloss over the moment you stopped pretending to be a tourist and started pretending to be in love. What were you thinking that Tuesday afternoon?" When I read that, I felt a familiar, sickening wave of self-pity mixed with explosive rage. I wanted to scream, "It wasn't my fault. I was just lonely." But the rage quickly faded, and all that was left was a deep, cold certainty. Alex was right. I wasn't thinking. I was hoping. I was desperate for validation. That Tuesday wasn't just hot because of the Bangkok sun. It was hot because I was finally walking into the fire. Before I tell you exactly what happened in that cafe, the moment I chose to give away my future for a fantasy, do me a favor. If you've ever let loneliness make a catastrophic choice for you, hit that like button and subscribe. Tell me where in the world you're watching from tonight. Knowing I'm not talking into a void gives me the strength to be this exposed. To all of you who have stuck with me through the humiliation, thank you. You are the only safety net I have left. Alex, this is the answer you asked for. Let me take you back to where it all started. Walking around aimlessly, eating street food alone at plastic tables, pretending I was having the adventure of a lifetime. The cafe was small, wedged between a 7-Eleven and a massage parlor with pink neon lights. I needed to escape the heat. I needed air conditioning. I needed to sit somewhere that didn't remind me how alone I was. I ordered an iced coffee from a teenager behind the counter and took a seat by the window, watching the endless stream of motorbikes blur past in thick Bangkok traffic. That's when she appeared at my table. She was holding a small notepad, smiling down at me. She said, "You want something eat?" Her English was broken, but it had this sweetness to it, this genuine warmth. I looked up at her and felt something shift in my chest. She was young, maybe 23, maybe younger. Slim build, long black hair tied back in a ponytail, dark eyes that seemed actually curious about me. Not the polite curiosity of someone doing their job, real curiosity. I said, "Just the coffee is fine, thanks." She nodded, but she didn't walk away. She lingered. She tilted her head slightly and said, "You from America?" I couldn't help but smile. "Yeah, Ohio. How'd you know?" She laughed, and it sounded like music. "I can tell. You look like customer I have before. American man. They always sit alone, always look tired, always look sad." I didn't know if that was an insult or just brutal honesty. I said, "Yeah, well, it's been a long trip." She pulled out the chair across from me and sat down without asking permission. "You here for holiday?" I nodded. 2 weeks. First time in Bangkok. Her eyes lit up. "First time? Oh, you must see real Bangkok. Not just tourist place. Not just Khao San Road and Grand Palace. I show you. Real food. Real temple. Real life." I laughed, but something in me wanted to believe her. She had this ease about her. This warmth that made me feel like maybe I wasn't just another customer. Maybe I was someone worth knowing. I said, "I don't really know anyone here. I'm kind of just winging it." She reached across the table and tapped my hand with her pen. "Now you know me. My name, Narisa." I shook her hand formally and she giggled at how serious I was being. "I'm Roger." She repeated my name slowly, testing it out. "Roger. Okay, I remember you now. Roger from Ohio." We sat there, talking for almost an hour, maybe longer. The cafe wasn't busy and her manager didn't seem to care that she was sitting with a customer instead of working. She asked me about my life back home, why I came to Thailand, if I was married, if I had children. I told her the truth because something about her made me want to be honest. I said, I'm divorced, twice actually. My kids are grown. They don't really talk to me much anymore. I worked as a warehouse supervisor for 30 years and I just retired 6 months ago. Figured I'd finally do something for myself, see the world a little bit. She didn't flinch at the divorce part. She didn't look at me with pity or judgment. She just nodded slowly like she understood. She said, divorce. That very hard. You must be so lonely. I felt something crack open inside my chest, something I'd been keeping locked up for years. I said, yeah, I guess I am. She reached across the table and touched my hand again. This time she let it rest there. She said, everyone lonely sometimes, Roger, but not today. Today you have friend. I didn't know what to say. I just sat there staring at her hand on top of mine, feeling the warmth of her skin, feeling seen for the first time in longer than I could remember. When her shift ended 2 hours later, she asked if I wanted to walk with her. She said, I show you good place for dinner, not expensive, not fancy, just real Thai food. I said yes before I even thought about it. We walked through the chaotic streets of Sukhumvit together, past the vendors grilling skewered meat over charcoal fires, past the women selling fried insects and mango sticky rice, past the bars with girls in short skirts calling out to Western men walking by. She held my arm as we crossed the street, guiding me through the insane traffic like she was protecting me. She took me to a small temple I never would have found on my own. It was tucked down a side street, hidden behind crumbling concrete buildings. She showed me how to remove my shoes before entering, how to light the incense sticks, how to bow properly in front of the golden Buddha statue. She said, you make wish, something you really want. Buddha, listen. I closed my eyes and stood there in the silence, surrounded by the smell of incense and flowers. I made a wish. I wished I wasn't so goddamn alone anymore. When I opened my eyes, she was watching me with this soft expression. She said, what you wish for? I smiled. Can't tell you. It won't come true if I say it out loud. She laughed and bumped her shoulder against mine. Okay, you keep secret. I respect that. That night we had dinner at a street food cart near Asok Station. She ordered for both of us in rapid Thai and the vendor nodded, smiling at her and then at me. She got us pad krapao with fried egg on top, som tam that was so spicy my eyes watered, and sticky rice served in a small bamboo basket. She watched me fumble with the chopsticks and laughed until tears formed in her eyes. She said, you eat like baby, like you never used chopstick before. I said, I haven't, not really. We don't use these much in Ohio. She smiled and reached over, adjusting my fingers on the chopsticks, guiding my hand. Like this, see? Now you do better. I managed to get some rice to my mouth and she clapped her hands together like I'd just accomplished something incredible. We sat there at that plastic table on the side of the road for hours, talking about everything and nothing. She told me about growing up in a small village in Isan, in the northeastern part of Thailand. She said her childhood was hard. Her father died when she was 12. Heart attack in the rice fields. No warning. Just gone. Her mother had to raise 3 kids alone, working in a garment factory in Udon Thani, sewing shirts for export to Europe and America. Narisa said, I come Bangkok 3 years ago. I want make money. I want help my family. My mama, she getting old now. She have diabetes. Need medicine every month. My grandma live with her. She, 90-year-old. She need help too. I asked if she missed home. She looked down at her plate and was quiet for a moment. Then she said, every single day I miss home, but I cannot go back with no money. If I go back now, I fail everyone. They depend on me. I only one who can help. I felt a tightness in my chest. I wanted to fix this for her. I wanted to take that burden off her shoulders. I said, that's a lot of pressure to carry, especially for someone so young. She looked up at me and smiled, but it was a sad smile. You understand, Roger? Most people don't understand. They think I just work, make money, have fun, everything okay. But it not so easy. Life here very hard. I reached across the table and held her hand. I get it. I really do. You're doing the best you can. She squeezed my hand back and we sat there like that, holding hands on a busy Bangkok street corner while motorbikes roared past and vendors shouted in Thai. That was the moment I started falling. I didn't realize it then, but that was the moment I stopped being a tourist and started being hers. The next 6 days were a blur of temples and markets and rooftop bars and late-night conversations. She showed me parts of Bangkok I never would have seen on my own. Hidden alleyways with the best street food, quiet temples where monks chanted at sunrise, night markets in Chatuchak where she haggled with vendors in Thai and got me discounts on things I didn't even need. She held my hand in public like we were a real couple. She laughed at my terrible jokes. She made me feel like I mattered, like I was more than just some lonely divorced guy wandering through Southeast Asia trying to find meaning. One evening she brought me to her apartment. It was in a narrow alley off Rama 4 Road, up 3 flights of stairs with no elevator. The building smelled like fried garlic and mildew. Her room was tiny, maybe 10 feet by 10 feet, a mattress on the floor, a small fan in the corner that barely moved the hot air, a rack with her clothes hanging, a tiny bathroom with a squat toilet and a bucket for showering. She said, "Sorry, it not nice, not like your hotel, but this my home." I said, "Don't apologize, it's perfect. It's yours." She smiled and we sat on the floor together, leaning against the wall, drinking cheap Sang-some whiskey she'd bought from the 7-Eleven downstairs. She told me about her dreams for the future. She said, "One day I want to open my own business, maybe hair salon, maybe small cafe like the one where I work, something I can be proud of, something my mama can see and say, 'Look what my daughter did.'" I said, "You'll do it. I know you will. You're smart and you work hard. You'll get there." She looked at me for a long time, studying my face. Then she said, "Why you so kind to me, Roger? You don't even know me." I didn't have an answer. I just said, "Because you make me feel something I haven't felt in a really long time." She leaned over and kissed me. It was soft and gentle, and it tasted like whiskey and hope. When she pulled back, her eyes were shining. She said, "I never meet man like you before. You different from other man. You really see me. Not just my body. Not just young Thai girl. You see me." I wanted to believe her more than I'd ever wanted to believe anything. On my last night in Bangkok, we went to the Chao Phraya River. We sat on a bench near one of the piers and watched the tourist boats drift past, all lit up with colored lights. She rested her head on my shoulder and we didn't talk for a long time. We just sat there listening to the sound of the water and the city. Finally, she said, "You go back America tomorrow." It wasn't a question. I said, "Yeah." She was quiet again. Then she lifted her head and looked at me. Her eyes were wet. She said, "I don't want you go, Roger." My heart was pounding so hard I thought she could hear it. I said, "I don't want to go either." She sat up straighter and took both my hands in hers. "Then don't. Stay here. Stay with me." I laughed, but it came out shaky and broken. "I can't just stay forever. I have a life back in Ohio. I have a house. I have responsibilities." She shook her head. "What life? You tell me you lonely. You tell me your kids don't talk to you. You tell me you have nothing there. So why you go back?" I didn't have an answer. She squeezed my hands tighter. "I want be with you, Roger. Not just 2 week. Not just vacation romance. Real relationship. I want us to be together." I felt tears forming in my eyes. I said, "You really mean that? You're not just saying it because I'm leaving?" She looked almost offended. "I never say something I don't mean. That not who I am. I want you, Roger. I want us." I kissed her. I held her face in my hands and kissed her like my life depended on it. When we finally pulled apart, I said, "I'll come back. I promise. Give me 3 months to get things sorted, and I'll come back." She smiled through her tears. "You promise? You really promise?" I said, I swear, I'll book my ticket as soon as I get home. She whispered, then I wait for you. I wait as long as it take. When I got on the plane the next morning, I'd already purchased my return ticket. 3 months, August 15th. I was coming back to her. Back in Ohio, everything felt wrong. My house felt too big and too empty. The silence was suffocating. I'd wake up at 3 in the morning and check my phone to see if Narisa had messaged me. She always had. Good morning, baby. Did you sleep good? I miss you so much. We video called every single night. She'd prop her phone up on her tiny table in her room and I'd see her beautiful face filling my screen. She'd ask about my day and actually listen to my answers. She'd tell me about work, about the rude customers, about how tired she was. She'd say, when you come back, Roger? I count every day. I cross off on calendar. Only 73 days left. I'd say, I know. I'm counting too. I can't wait to see you again. She'd blow kisses at the camera and I'd catch them like an idiot and we'd both laugh. For the first time in years, I felt like I had something to look forward to. Then, about 3 weeks after I got back to Ohio, she called me in the middle of the night, her time. Morning in Bangkok. I answered immediately. Hey, what's wrong? It's early there. She was crying, full on sobbing. I could barely understand her. She said, Roger, I'm so sorry to bother you. I don't know what to do. My chest tightened. What happened? Are you okay? She said, my grandma. She very, very sick. She in hospital now. The doctors say she needs special medicine. She need treatment. But hospitals say they need money first or they cannot help her. We don't have money, Roger. We don't have anything. I sat up in bed. How much do they need? She hesitated like she didn't want to tell me. Maybe 25,000 baht. I don't know exact. Maybe more. I so scared, Roger. If we don't pay, they send her home and she die. I did the math quickly in my head. 25,000 baht was about $800. I said, I'll send it. Don't worry. She said, no, Roger. I cannot ask you for money. That not why I call. I just need someone to talk to. I said, you're not asking. I'm offering. I want to help. Tell me where to send it, and I'll wire it first thing in the morning. She cried harder. You too good to me. I don't deserve you. Why you so kind? I said, because I care about you. Because your family is important to you, which makes them important to me. Just send me the hospital details. She said, thank you, Roger. Thank you so much. You saving her life. You, my hero. I sent the money the next morning through Western Union. She sent me a photo later that day. Her grandmother in a hospital bed, looking frail and small, but smiling weakly at the camera. Narisa sent a voice message. Her voice was thick with emotion. You save her, Roger? Doctors say she doing better already? I never forget what you do for us. Never. I felt this warmth spread through my chest. This feeling of being needed, of being important to someone. I told myself this is what love looks like. This is what it means to take care of someone. 2 weeks later, she called again. This time her voice was panicked and fast. Roger, I don't know what to do. I so scared. I said, what's wrong? She said, my landlord. He say if I don't pay rent by tomorrow, he kick me out. He already give me warning 2 times. Now he say this the last chance. I said, how much do you owe? She said, 18,000 baht. I try to pay, but I give all my money to hospital for my grandma. Now I have nothing left. I don't know where to go if he kick me out. I didn't even hesitate. I'll send it today. She said, Roger? No. I feel so bad. I keep asking you for help. You must think I terrible person. I said, I don't think that at all. You're in a tough situation. This is temporary. When I come back, things will be different. We'll figure it out together. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, you really see future with me? You really think about us like that? I said, of course I do. Why else would I be coming back? She started crying again. Okay, then I accept your help, but I pay you back someday. I promise. I sent $600 that afternoon. The requests kept coming after that. Small things at first. Her cousin Kanya's baby needed formula and Kanya couldn't afford it. $200. Then Narisa's motorbike broke down and she needed it to get to work. $300. Then her phone screen cracked and she couldn't video call me properly. $150 for a new phone. Every single time, she cried. Every time, she thanked me like I'd saved her life. Every time, she said, I don't know what I'd do without you, Roger. You, my everything. I kept sending money. I kept telling myself this was normal. This was what people in relationships did. They helped each other. But somewhere deep in the back of my mind, a small voice whispered, a voice I didn't want to hear. It said, is this what love is supposed to feel like? I ignored it. I silenced it. I told myself love isn't a transaction. Love isn't keeping score. She'd do the same for me if our situations were reversed. 3 months later, I landed at Suvarnabhumi Airport with 2 suitcases and a one-way ticket. Narisa was waiting for me at arrivals, holding a sign with my name on it even though she didn't need to. When she saw me, she dropped the sign and ran. She threw her arms around my neck and I lifted her off the ground, spinning her around while people walked past us. She said, "You back? You really back? I thought maybe you changed your mind." I said, "I told you I'd come back. I always keep my promises." We took a taxi to On Nut. I'd rented a small apartment online. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a tiny kitchen, and a living area that could barely fit a couch. It wasn't much, but it was ours. When we walked in, she looked around with wide eyes. She said, "This, our home? Really?" I set my suitcases down and pulled her close. "Yeah, if you want it to be." She kissed me hard. I want so much." We fell into a routine that felt comfortable and real. She'd wake up early and make coffee the Thai way, strong and sweet with condensed milk. We'd sit on the small balcony and watch the city wake up. She taught me how to cook Thai food, pad krapao, tom yum soup, green curry with chicken. I taught her how to make scrambled eggs the American way, and she laughed at how much butter I used. We'd watch Thai soap operas on her laptop, and she'd translate the dramatic parts for me, acting out the scenes with exaggerated expressions until I was laughing so hard my stomach hurt. We walked along the Chao Phraya River at sunset, holding hands, talking about the future. She'd say, "I so happy, Roger. I never think I could be this happy with someone. You changed my whole life." I'd say, "You changed mine too." But then, slowly, things started to shift. It was small things at first. She'd be on her phone more often, texting someone, scrolling through Line or Facebook. I'd glance over and she'd tilt the screen away. I'd say, "Who are you talking to?" She'd say, "Just friend from work." I'd say, "Which friend?" She'd look annoyed. "Why you ask so many questions? You don't trust me or something?" I'd back off immediately. No, I trust you. I was just curious." But inside, I felt uneasy. She started going out at night too. She'd say, "I meet friend for dinner. I be back soon." I'd say, "Okay, have fun." She'd leave and I'd sit in the apartment alone, watching Thai TV I didn't understand, checking the time every 15 minutes. She'd come home at 11, then midnight, then 1 in the morning. I'd be lying in bed pretending to be asleep when she'd slip in beside me. One night I couldn't help myself. I said, "Where were you?" She sighed heavily. "I told you already." "With my friend," I said, "until 1 in the morning." She sat up and turned on the light. "You want to know exactly where I was? Okay. I was at restaurant near Ekamai with my friend Kanya, my cousin. She work at hair salon. We eat dinner. We talk about her baby. We talk about life. Girl stuff. You want see receipt? You want collar and check?" I felt like an asshole. "No, I'm sorry. I just miss you when you're gone that late." Her face softened a little. She lay back down and turned toward me. "I know. But Roger, I need my life too. I cannot be with you every single second. I need friend. I need space to breathe. You understand?" I nodded. "Yeah, you're right. I'm being too controlling. I'm sorry." She kissed my forehead. "It's okay. You just love me too much. I get it. I wanted to believe that. I wanted to believe it was just love making me anxious. But it didn't feel like love. It felt like I was losing her and I didn't know how to stop it. Kanya started coming over more often after that. She'd show up unannounced, walking into our apartment like she owned the place. She was older than Narisa, maybe 29 or 30, short hair, sharp eyes, designer handbag that looked expensive. She'd speak to Narisa in rapid Thai, and I'd sit there on the couch like furniture, understanding nothing. I'd catch my name in their conversation. Roger, Roger. They'd glance at me, and then keep talking. Sometimes they'd laugh. I'd say, "What's so funny?" Narisa would wave her hand dismissively. "Nothing, just girl talk. Boring stuff." Kanya would look at me and smile, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was something else, something calculating, something I couldn't quite put my finger on. One time I asked Narisa, "What does Kanya do for work?" Narisa said, "I told you. She work at salon." I said, "She always has really nice things. That bag she had today looked like it cost a fortune." Narisa shrugged. "She save her money. She good with money. Not like me." I didn't push it, but something felt off. Then one evening, about 2 months after I'd moved to Bangkok, Narisa sat me down on the couch. She had her phone in her hand and this serious expression on her face. She said, "Roger, I need to talk to you about something important." My stomach dropped. I said, "Okay, what is it?" She pulled up photos on her phone and showed them to me. A condo, modern and sleek, floor-to-ceiling windows, granite countertops, a balcony with a view of the city. She swiped through the images slowly. "Look at this place. It in Thong Lo. Very nice area. Very safe. This where we should live, Roger. This where we can build real life together." I looked at the photos. It was beautiful. Way nicer than our current place. I said, "It's really nice, but we just moved into this apartment. We signed a lease." She shook her head. "This place too small. Too old. The building have cockroach. The neighbors too loud. We need something better. Something we can be proud of. Somewhere we can invite people without being embarrassed." I said, "How much is it?" She hesitated. She looked down at her phone. Then she said quietly, "Down payment is 550,000 baht. I felt the air leave my lungs. I did the math in my head. $18,000. I said, "Narisa, that's a lot of money." She looked up at me with those wide, hopeful eyes. "I know, but Roger, this investment, this our future. When we buy property, we building something real, something that lasts. Don't you want that?" I said, "I do, but that's almost all of my savings. I'd have maybe $30,000 left after that." She stood up. Her voice changed. It got sharper. $30,000? Roger, you know what I give up to be with you? I give up my job. I give up my freedom. I stay here every day cooking and cleaning and taking care of you. I leave my family in Izan because I want to be with you. And now when I ask for one thing that help us both, you say no?" I said, "I didn't say no. I just said it's a lot of money." She crossed her arms. "It sound like no to me. It sound like you don't believe in us." I felt trapped. I felt the walls closing in. "That's not fair," she said. "What not fair? I ask you, what not fair? You say you love me. You say you want future with me. You say you want to take care of me. But when I need something real, something important, you hesitate. That hurt me, Roger. That really hurt." I ran my hand through my hair. "I need time to think about it." She picked up her phone and headed toward the bedroom. "Okay, you think. But the condo not wait forever. Other people want it too. If we don't move fast, we lose it." She closed the bedroom door behind her, and I sat there alone on the couch, staring at the wall, feeling like the worst person in the world. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed next to her, staring at the ceiling, running the numbers over and over in my head. $18,000. That would leave me with about $32,000 in savings. My pension was only $1,200 a month. If something went wrong, if I got sick, if I needed to go home, I'd be broke. But if I said no, I knew I'd lose her. I could feel it. She'd leave. She'd say I didn't love her enough. She'd say I was selfish, and I'd be alone again. The next morning, I told her I'd do it. She screamed with joy. She jumped into my arms and wrapped her legs around my waist. "Thank you, Roger. Thank you so much. You make me happiest girl in the world. I love you so much." I held her tight and tried to ignore the knot in my stomach. I transferred the money that afternoon. $18,000. Gone. Just like that. The condo went in her name, she said. It'd have to be in Thai name. Foreigner cannot own condo in Thailand unless it very complicated legal process. But don't worry. I put your name on paper too. We do together. This our place. I believed her because I wanted to. Because I needed to. We moved into the condo 2 weeks later. It was beautiful, spacious and modern and clean. She decorated it with throw pillows and potted plants and framed photos of us. She said, "This our home now. Real home. Not just apartment. This where we build our future." I said, "Yeah, it's perfect." And it was perfect. The place was perfect. But she wasn't. She was still distant, still on her phone constantly, still going out late with Kanya. I tried to bring it up one evening. We were eating dinner at the table and she was scrolling through her phone, barely touching her food. I said, "Can we talk?" She didn't look up. "About what?" I said, "About us. I feel like something's changed, like you're pulling away from me." She put her phone down and stared at me. "Pulling away? Are you serious right now?" I said, "I just mean you're always on your phone and you're always going out and I feel like we barely spend time together anymore." She stood up from the table. Her face was red. "I always on my phone? I always going out? Roger, I gave up everything for you. I live here in this condo because you want me to. I cook for you. I clean for you. I do everything for you. And you have the nerve to say I pulling away?" I said, "That's not what I meant. She cut me off. "No. You listen to me now. I sacrifice everything to be with you. I leave my family. I leave my job. I stay here and play housewife for man twice my age. And you don't even appreciate it. You just complain and accuse me of things." I felt my throat tighten. "I'm not accusing you of anything. I just want to spend more time with you," she said. "You want to spend more time? Then stop making me feel guilty every time I have life outside of you. I cannot be your prisoner. Roger, I need friend. I need freedom. I need to breathe." I said, "You're right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel that way." She grabbed her purse off the counter. "I need to go out. I need space," I said. "Where are you going?" She looked at me like I was pathetic. "Out." She walked out the door and slammed it behind her. I sat there at the table alone, staring at my half-eaten dinner, feeling like the smallest man in the world. That became the pattern. I'd bring something up. She'd explode. I'd apologize. She'd leave. I'd sit alone in that expensive condo I'd paid for, wondering what I'd done wrong, wondering how to fix it. One afternoon, about a month after we'd moved in, I was sitting on the couch watching TV. Narisa had gone out. She said she was meeting Kanya for lunch. She'd been gone for 3 hours. Her phone was on the kitchen counter. She'd forgotten it. It buzzed. A message notification lit up the screen. I glanced over. I shouldn't have looked. I knew I shouldn't have. But I did. The message was in Thai. I didn't recognize the name. Some guy. I felt my heart start pounding. I stood up and walked over to the counter. I picked up her phone. I knew her passcode. She'd given it to me weeks ago. Said she had nothing to hide. I unlocked the phone and opened the message. I used Google Translate. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. The message said, "When I see you, baby, I miss you so much." I scrolled up. There were dozens of messages. Hundreds, maybe. Going back months. I saw my name, Roger. She was talking about me. I translated message after message. "He's so boring. He always complain. He like old dog, always following me around." Then I found one that made my blood run cold. "Don't worry, baby. I almost have enough money." Then I leave him and we can be together. I kept scrolling. There were photos of her with a guy, young, Thai, handsome, wearing a tight t-shirt and designer sunglasses. They were holding hands, kissing, standing in front of a beach somewhere. I felt like I was going to throw up. I sat down on the floor, still holding her phone, reading message after message. She called me her ATM. She said I was easy. She said I believed everything she told me. She laughed about the condo. Stupid Farang put it in my name. He think we do together, but it all mine. I don't know how long I sat there. Maybe 10 minutes. Maybe an hour. Time didn't make sense anymore. When I heard the key in the door, I looked up. Narisa walked in, smiling, holding a plastic bag from 7-Eleven. Roger, I bring you snack. I know you like the... She stopped. She saw me sitting on the floor. She saw her phone in my hand. Her face went completely blank. No panic. No fear. Just cold. I stood up slowly. I said, "Who is he?" She didn't answer. She just stared at me. I held up the phone. "Who the hell is he?" "Narisa." She walked over and took the phone from my hand calmly. She looked at the screen. She scrolled through the messages like she was reading the news. Then she looked at me. She said, "You go through my phone?" I said, "Answer the question." She laughed. It was a short, bitter laugh. "You really thought girl like me stay with man like you for free?" I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "What?" "So," she crossed her arms, "you think I love you? You think I want to be with old man who cannot even speak my language? You think I dream about life with you?" I couldn't speak. My throat was closed. She kept going. Her voice was sharp and clear. "You nice, Roger. You kind. You give money easy. That all you are. I stay because you pay rent. You buy condo. You send money to my family. You think that love? That business?" I said, "You told me you loved me." She shrugged. "I tell you what you want to hear. You lonely. You desperate. You old. You easy to control." Tears were running down my face. I said, "I gave you everything." She said, "And I take it. That how it work? You want young, pretty Thai girlfriend to make you feel like man again. I want money to build my life. Everyone get what they want." I shook my head. "I wanted you. The real you. I wanted us to build a life together." She laughed again, cruel and cold. "They're no real me, Roger. They're only this. You buy fantasy. Now fantasy over." I said, "What about the condo? What about all the money I sent?" She said, "Condo in my name. Money already gone. You have nothing." My knees felt weak. I grabbed the counter to steady myself. She walked past me into the bedroom. I heard her pulling drawers open. I followed her to the doorway. "What are you doing?" She was packing a suitcase, throwing clothes in, not folding, just shoving. She said, "I leaving." I said, "Where are you going?" She didn't look at me. "Somewhere you not." She zipped up the suitcase and grabbed her purse. She walked toward the door. I said, "Narisa, please. We can talk about this. We can figure it out." She stopped. She turned around and looked at me one last time. "Please what? Please stay? Please love you? Please pretend?" She shook her head. "I never love you, Roger. Not even a little bit. You were always just a job." She opened the door and walked out. I didn't follow her. I just stood there in the middle of that condo I'd bought for her, listening to her footsteps fade down the hallway, listening to the elevator doors close, listening to the silence that followed. I tried calling her the next day, straight to voicemail. I tried messaging her online, blocked. I tried Facebook, blocked. I sat in that condo for 2 days straight, not eating, barely sleeping, just replaying everything in my mind. Every smile, every kiss, every time she said she loved me. I thought about the moment I met her in that cafe, how she'd sat down at my table and made me feel seen, how she'd held my hand and called me her hero. I thought about every dollar I'd sent. $800 for her grandma, $600 for rent, $200 for her cousin's baby, $300 for the motorbike, $150 for the phone, $18,000 for the condo. I pulled up my bank account on my laptop. $11,000 left. That was it. 55 years old, 2 divorces behind me, a pension that paid $1,200 a month, and $11,000 to my name. I thought about going home, back to Ohio, back to my house that I'd rented out to strangers, back to a life that didn't exist anymore. I'd told everyone I was starting over. I'd posted photos on Facebook, me and Narisa at the temple, me and Narisa at the floating market, me and Narisa smiling on the balcony of our new condo. Everyone said I looked happy. My ex-wife commented, "Good for you, Roger." My daughter liked the photo without saying anything. How could I go back now and tell them I'd been scammed? How could I face the shame? On the 3rd day, I called Kanya. She answered on the 5th ring. "Hello?" I said. "Kanya, it's Roger. I need to talk to Narisa. Please, just let me talk to her." Kanya sighed. "She don't want to talk to you, Roger," I said. "I don't care what she wants. I gave her everything. I deserve an explanation. I deserve closure." Kanya laughed, short and cruel. "Just like Narisa. You got what you paid for. Now move on," I said. "I paid for that condo. It should be half mine." She said, "Condo in her name. You have no proof, no contract, nothing. You just stupid old man who believe pretty girl love you." She hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, feeling more alone than I'd ever felt in my entire life. I couldn't stay in that condo. Every corner reminded me of her. The kitchen where we used to cook together. The balcony where we'd watch the sunset. The bed where she'd whispered that she loved me. I moved out after a week, found a cheap studio apartment in Ramkhamhaeng. It was above a noodle shop and smelled like pork broth 24 hours a day. The rent was 6,000 baht a month. I could survive on that. Barely. I picked up a part-time gig teaching English online to Chinese kids, $20 an hour. Some days I'd get 5 hours of work. Some days I'd get none. I stopped going out. I stopped exploring Bangkok. I just sat in that tiny studio, teaching kids their ABCs through a laptop screen, trying to figure out how my life had ended up here. I see couples like us everywhere now. Old Western men with young Thai women. At the malls, at the restaurants. Walking hand in hand down Sukhumvit, I watch them and I wonder, how many are real? How many are just transactions dressed up as love? How many of those men are living the same lie I lived, paying for affection and calling it a relationship? I don't hate Narisa anymore. I did at first. For weeks I was consumed by rage. I wanted to expose her. I wanted to warn other men. I wanted revenge. But what would that do? She'd just move on to the next guy. Some other lonely retiree looking for connection. Some other man willing to pay for the illusion of being loved. And I'd still be broke, still be alone, still be sitting in this studio apartment that smells like noodles. Now I just feel tired. So incredibly tired. I look at myself in the mirror sometimes, and I barely recognize the man staring back. I used to think I was smart, careful, level-headed, but I wasn't. I was desperate, and desperation makes you blind. It makes you ignore red flags. It makes you rationalize things that don't make sense. It makes you believe what you want to believe instead of what's right in front of you. I gave Narisa everything because I thought that's what love required. Sacrifice, generosity, unconditional support. But she didn't want love. She wanted money, and I gave it to her freely, not because she forced me, not because she held a gun to my head, but because I needed so badly to believe that someone could love me, that someone could look at me and see value, that someone could want to stay. I was so lonely that I mistook transaction for connection. I mistook performance for truth. She played a role, and I paid her for it, and I called it love because I didn't know what else to call it. I think about going home all the time, back to Ohio, back to cold winters and familiar streets and a language I understand, but I don't know what that life is anymore. I sold my car before I left. I rented my house to a young couple with a baby. My kids don't call me. My ex-wives probably laugh when they hear my name. I'm a ghost in my own country, a cautionary tale, a punchline. At least here in Bangkok, I can disappear quietly. I can blend into the crowd of other lost men wandering around Southeast Asia looking for something they'll never find. I don't tell people my story. When someone asks why I'm in Thailand, I say I'm retired, enjoying the weather, living simply. They nod, they smile, they don't ask follow-up questions, and I don't offer details, because the truth is too heavy to carry in casual conversation. The truth is, I gave my retirement savings to a woman who never loved me. I moved halfway across the world for a fantasy, and now I'm paying for it every single day. I think about Narisa sometimes. Late at night when I can't sleep, I wonder if she ever thinks about me. Probably not. I was just a job, a means to an end, one of many. But I think about her. I think about the first time she smiled at me in that cafe on Sukhumvit. I think about how real it felt, how desperately I wanted it to be real. And that's the part that destroys me. Not that she lied, but that I knew. Somewhere deep down, I knew. I saw the red flags from the beginning. The constant requests for money, the late nights out, the distance growing between us, the way she'd flip from sweet to angry in seconds. I saw all of it. But I ignored it because I was too afraid of being alone. I convinced myself it was normal. I told myself every relationship has issues. I told myself she just needed time. I told myself love is complicated. I was wrong, and now I live with that every day. The knowledge that I did this to myself. Nobody forced me. Nobody tricked me. I walked into it with my eyes half open and my heart wide open, and I let her take everything because I thought that's what love cost. Maybe one day I'll forgive myself. Maybe one day I'll rebuild. Maybe one day I'll meet someone who actually sees me and values me for who I am and not what I can give them. But I don't believe that anymore. I used to. When I first arrived in Bangkok, I believed in second chances. I believed in new beginnings. I believed that love could find you at any age if you were just brave enough to look for it. Now I know better. Now I know that some of us are just meant to be alone. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's safer. I should have known better from the start. 55-year-old man, 23-year-old woman. Of course it wasn't real. Of course it was about money. Everyone could see it except me. My friends back home probably knew. My kids probably knew. Even strangers on the street probably looked at us and knew exactly what was happening. But I didn't want to know. I wanted to believe. And belief cost me everything. So now I'm here, still in Bangkok, still teaching English to kids on a screen, still living in a studio above a noodle shop, still counting every baht, still wondering how I ended up here. I'll probably stay, not because I want to, but because I don't have anywhere else to go. This is my life now, and I have no one to blame but myself.